Player 4 Podcast's first t-shirt is now on sale at tpublic.com. Ever wonder what it takes to make a good podcast? We've already done the math for you and put it on a t-shirt. Visit our storefront at tpublic.com/user/P4podcast and get yours today. That's tpublic.com/user/P4podcast.
This is the Player 4 Podcast. Join us each week as we talk about video games, entertainment, and pop culture, and bring in guests from the Rooster Teeth community. Player 4 has entered the game.
Intro time. Somebody do intro.
Welcome.
No scouts. I didn't know Tristan was just gonna straight out start going.
Hello, I am Tristan, aka Shagrazir on the Rooster Teeth website.
I am Alex, aka Chaos Black 21.
Malachi, aka Sukikiba.
With a silent T. Oh, I'm the fourth guy. I'm Joseph, aka J. Dunlap, aka.
I like that just to make sure he didn't say and by mistake, he also just cut out the whole I am as well.
Yeah, I didn't cut that. That was Malachi cutting that.
I am Joseph.
Censoring himself.
I tried. I was about to say and I was just like, Malachi.
Saved it.
Malachi, the intro guy.
Well, so, one thing we're not doing this episode of the Player 4 Podcast is getting our act together. Alright, so,
we've got
a quick list of stuff we wanted to run through. We wanted to quickly talk about our RTX panel, since RTX is coming up soon. We had a little butt stuff we wanted to get into. I think they pay more for that. Marvel's Civil War was recently a thing, and a couple of our guys saw it and wanted to talk about it, and then suddenly Captain America is on the hot cakes, hot sheet, it's on the hot chopping block.
Hot topic.
It's
He's
not on
shopping
the
on Hot
chopping
Topic.
block. It's on the hot seat.
Hot seat, that's the word. Thank you. So,
Some
Joseph,
people pay extra for that.
They do. Joseph, you wanted to talk to us about the RTX panel. It's like all I hear about from you anymore.
Okay, so
Is it stuff?
is it
Butt
butt stuff?
stuff.
Was it butt stuff, Tristan?
It is butt stuff. They pay more for that.
They pay. Okay, so we had a conversation just before we recorded that I wanted to recount, which was I said something about the description of the panel that we're going to have at RTX 2016, hashtag RTX 2016, hashtag Player 4 Podcast, and hashtag butt stuff. They pay extra for that. And you guys were like, well, by the way, you never told us what was on the description of our panel. And I said, oh yeah, I kind of forgot because there's no description in the schedule. I didn't get a confirmation email or anything, so we're going to find out what's in the description, but I can tell you what the general idea of it was. So I made a few promises as I hold up politician peace signs. The first thing... I am not a crook. The first thing I promised was we would have a guest, and we're going to be talking to a few people. We have someone in mind for a guest, but we're gonna try and solidify who that guest is so we can tell you who that is. We're going to have a guest because I promised we would, and because Malachi's not going to be able to make it this year.
We need a fourth player. It could be you.
We'll bring a crappy controller and let them hold it the whole time.
When do I get to start playing? You're already playing.
It's called life. You can never win. You just get a little bit better each time. And
Does that
then
even happen?
the next thing I promised in the description, so this will be public knowledge, is that we're going to do a live table reading that involves audience participation. So we have to figure out what that table reading will be and what that audience participation will be, because I promised we would do it.
That's all on Joseph there.
I said we. Come on.
You
Joseph's
promised
doing all
it.
the planning? Awesome.
What's
You were the one who promised it.
I'm going to go take a nap.
Yeah, you go take a nap, Griff. Stin.
Completely stoppable. Already stopped.
Griffston.
Griffston.
So, the main thing, we did mention a few episodes ago that we were doing a table read when we had Shoban on. We said, what would you think if? And he was like, oh, I'm there, it's awesome. So what we don't know is whether Shoban's going to live DJ for us. But that is the things I promised for RTX, is that we will do a table reading with audience participation, and there will be a player 4 as a guest sitting in with us. And I'm going to be talking to this person this coming week to confirm that they can make it. And then if they can't, then I'll pursue other avenues to get us somebody to be our guest. that is what I can tell you right now about our RTX panel, because we are still confirming a little bit of what the schedule will be, the lineup will be, what we're doing. So we will trickle out another breadcrumb clue next week. That is the RTX 2016 update. Back to
Follow
you.
the trail of breadcrumbs.
2 RTX and our panel at 3:30 on Saturday.
Yes!
July.
Saturday, 3:30 in the Austin Convention Center.
Yes. Meeting room 4.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask because I did not remember. So yeah, it should be exciting. You should definitely come and see the panel. So wait, there was something about us getting paid to do butt stuff or something like that? I misunderstood.
Yes, you get
$1
$1 million
to do butt stuff?
Awesome. I'll do butt stuff for $1 million. You're cutting this, right?
Do I
Hell
even know
no.
you guys?
No, I'm not cutting this. I'm sorry, Malachi. But
We
Alex,
now have you on tape saying that you'll do butt stuff for $1 million.
Oh,
so we're basically
Well.
playing the game now.
I hope people have $1 million then.
So let's play $1 million butt. You get $1 million, Tristan, but you have to do butt stuff. Okay, save us from this, Alex. Can you tell us what butt stuff really is?
Butt stuff refers to the card game that Rooster Teeth is coming out with called $1 Million Butt. We went over it before in past podcasts, but the amazing thing is that the backers have given over $1 million now to the project.
So $1
So
million.
we really are giving them $1 million, but all they have to do is make this card game.
Yeah, $1 million, but you have to make a card game.
It's not such a bad deal, honestly.
Maybe they'll put more effort into a lot of the challenges and actually make really creative and hilarious things.
They started with 300 cards as the core deck, and as well as an expansion. But two of the achievements are adding $100 or 100 cards to the core deck, and one of those achievements have already been met. So now it's at $400 for the or 400 cards for the core deck. God damn it.
I'm not paying that much money.
400 cards for the core deck, and if they hit the other goal, then there'll be $500 for the core deck. Plus, you can get an expansion. Plus, now after the time is done, when the project is finished, they're going to release when everyone takes a survey that backed it. You can actually put in kind of a card that you might want to see, and they're going to make another expansion based off of community answers and comments.
Wait, what's the deadline for the contributing to it?
The deadline, I believe, is sometime in late June. Late June, I believe.
Do you guys going to contribute, or do any of us going to actually have the butt stuff game?
Alex,
Alex, you did,
I'm
right?
going to have, yes, I'm getting the core deck and the expansion.
But if you're looking for something to back, then you should go to Indiegogo and back the thing from last episode. Go back the comic that Andres is doing.
Back those lions.
Back that lion up.
Hashtag PayDeco.
Pay Deco. Just in general, it's a great project. I know ever since they first announced it, and Tristan and I interviewed Andres about it, we have been super psyched for it.
Super psyched. I get whispery when I get excited.
Oh, tell me about it.
Nope.
You think I know? I think I know, Tristan. I'm the one who edits your audio.
It's okay, I'll just keep whispering into the mic.
Hey, speaking of your mic, what's so awesome about your mic right now? You sound so great.
I put it on an armature, so it's not on my desk anymore, so I'm actually, talking into it.
So I
You
won't
know,
hear thunka
like
thunka thunka typey type.
No, I'm pretty sure you'll still hear that.
Tap, 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 tap.
Nope.
Tip, 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 tip,
You're
tip.
living this in.
I'm not editing that out, Tristan.
I know. It's gonna be great.
Wow.
So, the next thing on our list, we wanted to, Joseph and Malachi wanted to get into a discussion about Marvel Civil War, and I think there might be spoilers involved.
No.
More likely.
Now, are each one of you going to pick a side and duke it out while Tristan and I get some popcorn?
I'm
Okay,
gonna be Iron
Malachi,
Man.
who do you support?
I'm kind of more on the captain side a bit.
Yes, it's a fight! Team Iron Man all the way.
Man. Tristan,
It's
let's go get some
fight.
popcorn.
I am disappointed, and I already have my popcorn. I'm crunching it right now.
Alright, tell us why you support the Cap after having watched the movie.
Well, it's more the general. It's not that they shouldn't be held responsible for what stuff that happens, but there are things that, on the scale that it is just inevitable. It's like you either take what's going to happen or be completely obliterated.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because you're talking, it's not like a small little scale, like a bank being robbed and they destroyed the whole building just to stop the bank robbers. You're talking aliens that are planning to enslave the whole world, and you broke some buildings. Big whoop, and this thing was big, and like the ships that were coming in were bigger than buildings.
Yes. You also are making a point that was made on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., actually, just after the movie came out. Coulson said, spoiler alert, Coulson's alive. Coulson said that he had things that he needed to take care of without obstruction, without paperwork, and that he needed secret warriors. And I went, secret warriors! Because he said the thing. He said secret warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Secret warriors.
So you side with...
Don't tell them.
You side with Cap's side being against the Accords, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's just like when, like what Cap said with things, it's like when you put it in someone else's hands, you know, it maybe seem good and all, but you don't know their hidden agendas. You don't know what they're going to want you to do, and then you can't say no to them.
Yes, but then when you don't have jurisdiction over them and you let them go free, then you end up with Batman versus Superman, which is people who have the power to wreak havoc being unchecked. So I totally see Iron Man's side, but really, I side with Iron Man as a character over Steve Rogers as a character in this certain scenario. I think Steve Rogers is completely in the wrong in the entire movie.
I mean, who shelled out the cash after, like, General Zod blew up 2 cities on the planet, completely demolished them in that Superman movie?
Was it crowdfunded?
It was, yeah, probably. I would say crowdfunded by the American tax dollars.
All right, General Zod, President 2016.
Oh, General Zod's
He's dead. Okay, who was his running mate? Who was his running mate?
I actually cut myself off. I was going to say he's a bad man, but I was going to say it more harshly.
My thought with that, though, too, is like, why can't you just, well, that's what the Avengers is the force to try to stop or keep things in check, but...
So let's talk without spoilers about Civil War. So everyone knows that Marvel Civil War is a comic book. Anyone who knows anything about Marvel knows that Civil War was a comic series. It's, as I said on the podcast a long time ago, the story was that there was, all these different metahumans, as they were called, going around doing superhero things and supervillain things and just messing around and doing their own thing. And then there was a reality show that was following around a bunch of superheroes in a little team. So they're in a little grudge match with their arch nemesis team. And at the end of that grudge match, the last guy that they defeat sets off a bomb that blows up the entire area, including an elementary school. And so as a result, legislation is made in the U.S. government to make all the metahumans register themselves so they can keep tabs on them instead of letting them run rampant. So obviously in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we don't quite have that level of metahumans. Like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is in the same world, they have all these Inhumans popping up, but that's not really part of the movies per se. It's more you've got the Avengers, and something happened at the beginning of this movie that led to the same sort of legislation, but instead of registering with the U.S. government, instead the Avengers would essentially work for the UN.
Yeah, it sounded to me like the movie, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I do intend to, but it sounded like they were handling it differently from how the comic book presented it. As I recall, for one thing, as you've already said, it was with the U.S. government and not specifically the UN, but also, wasn't there a pretty, strong divide among all the metahumans where there was actually a faction of people who believe that, yes, they should be held accountable, whereas from everything I've seen, in the ads for the movie, it seems like it's just Tony Stark.
Okay, so in the comic book, you had the entire Marvel Universe taking sides. You either registered immediately, as did Spider-Man at the time, and he revealed on national television what his identity was
right
to everyone, which quickly got undone in a later comic. Everyone registers that believes that they should be held accountable or that others should be. Like in the case of Tony Stark, everyone already knows who he is. So he registers because he believes that other people should be held accountable. And then you have what you would call a resistance. Those who have to be in the underground because now they're wanted because they're criminals. The government is hiring just about anybody, including supervillains, to bring in criminals that aren't registered. So
The
they
unregistered superheroes.
Yeah, so they send out people who want to kill Spider-Man to bring him back in, and what do? They try to kill him. You can't really do that with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because there's just not that big of a universe. If you count Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you have the Inhumans, but they don't really... the movies don't so much acknowledge the TV shows as much as the TV shows tie themselves into the movie, like roping onto a passing vehicle.
I think that could be partially, the whole intellectual property being the different heroes being bought and traded by the different companies, the corporations, the movie making places like Fox owns all of the mutants. So
yes, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe itself specifically is all operated under Disney. Netflix has all their TV shows. They're in the same universe as Battle for New York. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in the same universe as Battle for New York. And all the
but
movies
that's why we don't have any mutants.
Yes. It's just unfortunate that we can't really build the universe as big, and really the Inhumans aren't really a replacement for the X-Men. Where I'm getting to is that basically what you end up with in the movie is Steve Rogers versus Tony Stark. Iron Man is in favor of the Accords, and Steve Rogers is against the Accords, and he's got his own reasons, but then he ends up helping Bucky, which we know from the trailer. I don't want to spoil anything that's not in the trailer, but I do want to, clear up some things that may have been hazy. So, basically then the other characters choose a side, and it culminates in a battle that we've seen in the trailer, which is, 6 against 6 or something in a battle, and that is almost the climax of the movie. Not quite, but almost the climax of the movie. And it's just, it becomes an all-out battle, which you can tell that nobody actually wants to hurt anybody, but you can also tell that each group has an objective they're trying to achieve in the battle. So they're just kind of punching at each other a bunch.
They're pulling their punches.
Yeah, there actually is a part with pulled punches. It's really interesting. It's just not the same as the comics, because in that case, they were actually trying to get blood. You've got these super villains alongside superheroes, and wherever the line is drawn, that's where the blood is being drawn. It's more best friends trying to stop the other side from making a horrible mistake as they view it. And so I side with Iron Man simply because I think that Steve Rogers is wrong. Not even if I support the Accords, but I do think that they shouldn't always think that they're infallible, because something bad did happen, and they sort of gloss over it and pretend it didn't happen. They have a little bit of a time where someone feels guilty, and that's it. And then they kind of move on from there. It's okay, well, whatever. We're still the good guys, right? And that's right when you become the bad guy. So, first, Malik, I'm going to give you a chance to defend Steve Rogers.
Well, there's actually, when you were talking about stuff, I actually found a kind of hole that I don't know if I should mention, because now that I think about it, I'm completely baffled by it.
Hold it up.
Hole it up?
Tell me about this hole. What's the hole?
Toward the end, Joseph, where they show the video
Yes, okay.
what happened?
Uh-huh.
Wasn't Cap frozen? How does he even know that during that time period?
Probably Bucky told him. Because you're right, he wouldn't have been around when it happened, but it's very likely that Bucky told him because he felt bad about it. And that's actually the biggest reason I have a problem with Cap, because he said that he knew about the thing in the video, and I was like, seriously? I thought you were his friend, and then you hide it from him? That you knew this thing that happened in the video that Bucky knew about?
You said, it's a touchy thing to say,
Mm-hmm.
Even if he told him, he could still have reacted the same way he did.
He had to have known, just like when your parents find out that you did something and you didn't come to them first, they find out you lied. It's always worse when they find out you lie.
But my biggest thing with that is, even with registering, you're just holding the heroes accountable. There's no way to restrain the villains, and that's a lot of times where most of the destruction comes from.
Sure.
And it's kind of like saying, oh, well, since this bad guy just destroyed everything, it's your fault. You have to suffer. And it's just
it's the inevitable struggle
okay.
in comic books, both in DC and Marvel, which we've always come back to on this podcast, the concept that whenever there's a grudge match between good and evil, the more powerful they are, the more the little people get stepped on. Remember in the original Avengers movie, Coulson said that the reason for a lot of what they were doing, was it Nick Fury? Might have been Nick Fury.
Probably
yeah.
Nick.
The reason that they were getting the weapons and protecting themselves was against people who had the power to level entire cities. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about Thor and the big robot thing. I get what you're
Ultron?
saying.
No.
It was
The
in
Guardian
first,
that guard
Yeah, the Guardian that guards the shiny cube in
the
Asgard.
Frost Giants.
Oh.
The
Yeah, that
Frost
thing.
Giants
Mhm.
thing. I forget what it's
Okay.
called.
The shiny cube.
Shiny cube thing. They have a lot of those. The one
thing
that they
looked
end up
like
with.
The Tesseract.
Yeah, I think it ends up being the
no,
Tesseract.
no, it's not. It's
Okay.
a completely different item.
Okay, it's a different shiny cube that's blue.
Oh, okay. Because that's
So-
not confusing at all.
So it was the giant metal guy that had nothing inside of him, that was like a walking furnace and just blew laser beams out of his head
In the original Thor movie.
in the original Thor movie. They made a weapon out of that
Um,
creation.
Yeah.
I see.
Well, okay, what they referred back to that battle and they said, well, when that kind of grudge match almost levels an entire town, we have to protect ourselves. So the question becomes, how important is it that these people go unsupervised just because they don't want to be, held accountable to anybody because the person can be bad, versus how important it is that we normal humans are able to prevent all these grudge matches from killing us. That's always been the question in comic books. Eventually, not just who watches the Watchmen, but who's going to keep us all from dying just because you guys are all fighting each other in the sky to protect us. So I get both sides of it, Malachi, and I get what you're saying, but the whole being held accountable and being told what to do by the UN, did that ever really stop Nick Fury? Then they're not going to be hunted down, every time something bad happens. At least then they're supervised by the UN.
Well, it's kind of funny to also think about, even if they do register, what's going to stop them if the government does something bad and they just decide to level everything anyways.
Yeah, that's the thing. Choosing not to register caused a conflict. Registering would not, but then later on, you could just say no. Really, the overarching problem with the movie itself, I liked the movie, it was good, but there was a problem with it, and it was trying to take the Civil War storyline from the comic books and juxtapose it on where they were in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it just didn't quite work, because really they just had to make it to where Steve Rogers was entirely justified in what he was doing, and so was Iron Man, but you really started to root for Steve Rogers. In the comic books, the only issue was the Civil War. In the movie, the issue was Bucky. And I thought it was really weird to take Civil War and make it a Captain America movie and make it about Bucky.
Yeah.
Freaking Bucky is not the reason for the Civil War, and they made it all about him. You ended up rooting against Iron Man because he was trying to get Steve Rogers and Bucky because they were breaking the law, when you were rooting for them because of the thing that Bucky was having to deal with.
Well, I think it's because they wanted to give some context to what was going on with not just them fighting against each other, so they wanted to have that subplot in there. So I guess that's why they categorized the Civil War as Captain America, was because they wanted to give it that little more content to keep it flowing. Instead of, they don't want to sign this, they're going against, the change that we want to do, and this is not, instead of just being an all-out brawl.
And I see what you're saying, and also when Tristan pointed out the pulling of the punches, I guess it's pretty important to have a pulled punch Civil War. Pulled punch. A pulled punch. A pulled pork punch
Pulled
bowl.
pork?
It might be important to go that route anyway, because we're not that far away from the Infinity War. So I don't think they need to split them up completely and kill people off if they're going to have Infinity War coming around the corner. So I see what everyone's saying there. Did anyone read the article about Tony Stark's PTSD that was written recently?
I read it because you posted it to Facebook.
Yes, I posted on Facebook with yes, 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 very yes. Because, oh my gosh, somebody
It is
help
so accurate.
Tony Stark. He's going through PTSD and his friends don't care.
And nobody's helping him. Everyone's ignoring him. And the article hit it on the head. Everybody just seems to look at it and go, well, he's Iron Man. He'll be fine.
Ugh.
And it's like, no, people need help to get through stressful situations.
I read the first sentence of the article and it said Tony Stark should have died in the Battle of New York, and I was ready for the pitchforks. I was like, you shut up, you hush your mouth, and then I realized what he was saying. It was a situation where he should have died and didn't.
Yeah, and that's why he's got the survivor's guilt mixed with just PTSD from the shock of everything he saw and everything he had to deal with. The article basically went into how ever since they put Loki away in the first movie, every movie about the Avengers and Iron Man since then has been a problem that Iron Man himself created in trying to protect the world from evil and from people with as much power as he has. So basically the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe right now is revolving around this one broken man trying to put a protective glove around the world while at the same time being at high risk of crushing it himself, with his hand in the glove. And everybody around him, all the people who are supposedly his friends, like Thor, Captain America, all these people who are supposed to be working with him to help him protect the world, are ignoring his very, they're all cries for help when he tried to create Ultron to lighten the mental burden, the emotional burden of protecting the world, to make it easier for heroes to keep people safe. That was, him saying, we can't handle this alone. We need a system that is a bit, less emotional than we are. Because even at that point, he knew his emotions were a problem. And so he's got all these cries for help that everyone around him is ignoring. And at some points, blatantly pushing them off and saying, nah, you're fine. Whatever, you got this. And he really doesn't got this. And it's so strange when you have characters like Captain America who are constantly comforting other people and helping them through their stress, and then turning around and cold shouldering Tony Stark, who's much more of a threat to the world in his current state of mind.
Yes. Hopefully they can deal with that. There's also a physical problem he deals with in Civil War that is just an indicator of the stress that he's under and also his age. He's not actually that young, So speaking of not liking Steve Rogers, can we move on, Alex, to the thing that we were not letting you say before we recorded because Malachi hadn't heard about it yet, so we can surprise him with this reason that people are up in arms about Captain America?
Yes. So a preview of Steve Rogers' Captain America #1 was released, and apparently Captain Rogers, Marvel says, supports the organization Hydra. He is actually a deep cover agent for Hydra, working in the Avengers and America and all that.
Wait, what? Wait.
Yes.
Let's say this again.
Captain America works for Hydra.
Where did he get that from?
Mic
Or where
drop.
did they get that?
Okay, so they previewed a panel where Steve Rogers is in uniform,
Uh-huh.
and he's standing next to an old guy who's tied and gagged, and he's saying, "Hail Hydra."
Yes. And Time actually interviewed a Marvel editor to ask what the hell was going on. So they asked him, how did they decide to make Steve Rogers a secret Hydra operative? The editor said that it's actually been in the works since 2014. There's little breadcrumbs that they've put in throughout the comics since then to kind of show it, and apparently issue 2 they're going to they're going to have flashbacks that kind of show why these things are happening, how he is a deep cover operative for Hydra.
Oh, man.
So this is totally
Yeah.
happening then.
That's heavy.
Yes, and so they're saying that just the readers and Sam Rogers know that he's a Hydra operative, so they're trying to create this second layer and second meaning with every interaction that he has with people in the comics.
That's where would they have gotten him to turn him like that? Or is it recent that they did turn him into that?
The theory
But they
is
said
that
there's hints.
he was turned before he became a super soldier, and the reason they made him a super soldier is because he had been picked by Hydra. That's the theory.
No, my question also is, it was just him saying Hail Hydra. It wasn't they said that, okay, it's just a lot to wrap your head around. It's because I'm trying to see.
Well, you also have to remember that this is not currently related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, this is. Oh, yeah, it's true.
It's
Because
just the comics, right?
comics. Okay, just the comics.
Yes, and technically, the cinematic universe does have a number designation in the Marvel mythos. I believe it is universe number 999999.
9999999.
I think it's all nines. I think it's just shy of 1 million.
So this is actually just in the comics that they put this in there, huh?
So there's your bomb that
Huh.
Yes.
Joseph wanted to drop on you. So,
That's interesting. That they did that.
actually, he's evil. Ha 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 ha.
The symbol of America. It's evil.
There's also another big thing. Apparently, there is, it says, in the final pages of this week's issue, set some pretty big stuff in motion, including the death of a superhero at the hands of Captain America. They were allowing retailers to sell the Steve Rogers Captain America to oppose the DC Universe Rebirth #1 midnight release. So they were trying to go up against them, I think. So they were like, oh, let's release this bombshell.
Comic book Civil War.
How, Zoc.
Well, that was an interesting and long discussion.
That was, but it was a good podcast, I think.
Yes.
Yes, what really defines Marvel is those kinds of characters, the complex characters that you sometimes root for, sometimes you don't, the characters that you can understand their justification for their actions, like in Civil War, even if you don't take their side of it.
Yeah, I'm just so glad that somebody finally took the time to write an article about Tony Stark's PTSD, because I've had to deal with a couple of my friends saying, man, this movie's so stupid, it wouldn't have there would have been no problem if Tony Stark had just realized what a bad idea it was. It's like, you're not getting that he's mentally traumatized and is incapable?
Exactly.
Did you not watch Iron Man 3?
No, they watched them all. They just don't seem to get that.
Well,
No.
Iron Man 3 really lined out what Tony was going through.
Yeah, I know.
I remember thinking at one point, so we're just ignoring Iron Man 3, is that what's going on here? And then
I
all
like
of a sudden, I read this article and I go, you're right. It's
Mhm.
been here all along. Iron Man 3 is still going on.
Yeah.
Except for
Yeah.
the Mandarin. Can we forget about the Mandarin?
Let's all
Such
forget
a
the
bad
Mandarin.
use of Sir Ben Kingsley.
Yeah.
Ole.
The Mandarin ended that with this.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, good night, everybody. It's been fun. Come to our panel at RTX. Hype it.
Hashtag
Goodbye.
Goodbye,
Hashtag
Caboose.
goodbye.
Hashtag goodbye. Hashtag pay P4.
Gotta live vicariously next week.
Yes, we're gonna live vicariously.
We're going to relive vicariously.
Give us a
Yes.
preview. Give us a short, like, 1-sentence preview.
Caboose actually knows what the fuck is going on, but no one believes him.
Good night, everybody. No, we did season 6 last time, Alex.
Dang it!